Hello and good day. Welcome to our video channel, God's Promises. And today's video, Bible verse, Psalm 3 verses 2 to 6. Let's get started now. Psalm 3 verses 2 to 6 is a passage from the book of Psalms in the Bible, written by King David. This particular passage is a prayer that David wrote when he was fleeing from his son Absalom, who had rebelled against him and sought to take his throne. In this essay, we will explore the meaning and symbolism of each verse of Psalm 3 verses 2 to 6 and its day-to-day application. Verse 2. Many are saying of me, God will not deliver him. In this verse, David is acknowledging the doubts and negative comments of others regarding his situation. It's essential to note that David doesn't deny the reality of the situation he's in. Instead, he turns to God for deliverance. Day-to-day application of this verse would mean that we should not allow negative comments and doubts of others to discourage us or make us lose faith in God. We must always turn to Him for help and trust that He will come through for us. Verse 3. But you, Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, the one who lifts my head high. In this verse, David acknowledges that God is his protector, provider, and encourager. He recognizes that God is his shield, which means that God is his defense and protection from the enemy. David also acknowledges that God is his glory, which means that God is the source of his honor and reputation. David ends this verse by acknowledging that God is the one who lifts his head high, which means that God is the one who gives him confidence and assurance. The day-to-day application of this verse is that we should always recognize and acknowledge God as our shield, glory, and the one who lifts our heads high. We should have confidence in Him to protect and provide for us. Verse 4. I call out to the Lord, and He answers me from His holy mountain. In this verse, David acknowledges that when he calls out to the Lord, God answers him from His holy mountain. The holy mountain represents God's presence and power. David recognizes that God is not distant, but that He is close and ready to answer his prayers. The day-to-day application of this verse is that we should always call out to the Lord, knowing that He is always present and ready to hear our prayers. We should have confidence that God will answer us when we call out to Him. Verse 5. I lie down and sleep, I wake again, because the Lord sustains me. In this verse, David acknowledges that he can sleep peacefully because he knows that God sustains him. David recognizes that it is only by God's power that he can wake up each morning. The day-to-day application of this verse is that we should trust in God's sustaining power in our lives. We should not worry or be anxious about tomorrow, but instead, we should rest in the assurance that God is in control. Verse 6. I will not fear though tens of thousands assail me on every side. In this verse, David expresses his confidence in God's protection, even in the face of great adversity. He recognizes that the enemy may come against him from every side, but he will not fear because he trusts in God's protection. The day-to-day application of this verse is that we should not fear when we face difficult situations or when the enemy comes against us. We should have confidence in God's protection and trust that He will help us overcome. In conclusion, Psalm 3 verses 2 to 6 is a powerful prayer that shows us how we can turn to God in the face of adversity. Each verse reveals different aspects of God's character, such as His protection, provision, and sustaining power. The day-to-day application of this passage is that we should always turn to God in times of trouble and trust in His protection, provision, and sustaining power. We should not allow negative comments or doubts of others to discourage us, but instead, we should have confidence in God's ability to help us overcome. We should recognize and acknowledge God as our shield, glory, and the one who lifts our heads high. We should call out to the Lord in prayer, knowing that He is always present and ready to hear us. Finally, we should rest in the assurance that God is in control, and we should not fear even in the face of great adversity. By applying these teachings to our daily lives, we can experience the same level of peace, protection, and provision that King David experienced when he wrote this prayer. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspirational content. See you in the next video. Wishing you a very happy day.